Hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the No Surrender review. And I wish to say I'm very sorry that it's quite late. Like I said in my previous video, I was going to be busy, and unfortunately I was not able to get this done earlier. It looks like it is probably the next day it's going to be released, or just near midnight. So let's get into this review. I wish to say that TNA did very good on their pre-tape at the very beginning of the show, showing all 4 Bound for Glory members. And yes, I do remember the pay-per-view for the next one. I'm sorry, I've been pretty busy. I'm very sorry. Slipping my mind a lot of stuff. So having James Storm, Hardy, Samoa Joe, and Bully Ray there, having their bit was very nice, and I really enjoyed it. And the first match that came up, which I was quite surprised. I thought it was going to be more up in the card, but finding out they were going to do it the final that same night, it makes sense. You can't have them in the middle of it and then at the end they're just going to still be very tired. So having it like this was good. But I do have something I have to say about that later. You have Samoa Joe and Hardy. Essentially it's the same kind of match they had at Impact a couple of days before. Doesn't mean it was a bad match. It's just like a repeat of it. The way Hardy won was like a roll-up out of a submission, out of another roll-up. So essentially Hardy wins this. I didn't expect him not to win. Like I said in my preview of my predictions, essentially I knew Hardy was going to win this and Samoa Joe wouldn't. So it still went pretty well, like I said in my previous video. Next one would be a backstage with James Storm, which I did like very much. When James Storm was basically putting over Bully Ray, and I have my feelings about Bully Ray later, but he was putting over Bully Ray, and it was good. I liked how he did that, but he also put himself over, saying that when he was talking about Jeff Hardy, he essentially knew that he's grown from the time that he first faced Bully Ray 1 year before. And when it comes to Hardy, he's going to beat Hardy. That was a good segment, a good backstage segment with Borat. And when it came down to it for the next match, which was Bully Ray and James Storm, I wish to say it's very hard not to say this was the match of the night. I know a lot of people are going to say, no, you got to be kidding me. I'll explain it after the end of the review. But essentially, Bully Ray and James Storm was a good match. It was better than some of the matches they've had, particularly when you had Stickler coming in after Earl Hebner gets splatted, and then Stigler gets a huge elbow in the face, and this is both from Storm. It's very good. I really enjoyed this match. It wasn't the fact that it was a technical match. It wasn't the fact there was very few botches. They told a very good story. And I said in my prediction that essentially if Robert Roode shows up, I thought Robert Roode was going to help. Well, I knew Robert Roode was going to help Bully Ray. It was obvious. But I thought somehow that Storm would win out over it. And he would still have the feud with, basically with Roode, but still would be in the Bound for Glory finals. But when basically he hits him over the head with a bottle, Robert Roode to Storm, and then throws Bully Ray over it, I was actually quite surprised. And I'm very happy about that because it now breaks them off. Now, in Bound for Glory, it's obvious there's going to be a match between them both. And I have a feeling this will not be the only matches they're going to have. There's going to be more than a few. Particularly, I think, when they get up to Genesis, one of those two is going to go after the belt again. I don't know who's going to be, basically, who's going to be the champion at that time. But it makes sense. You got to have these two face one another, because it would have been better months ago that they had that match for the championship and Storm won, but he didn't. So now, it's okay. It's not bad. Now the next segment was the backstage with Tessmacher. And I liked it. I'm not a big favorite of backstage pre-tapes or backstage promos too much. But in this case with No Surrender, it was necessary. You had to set it up a bit. And with Tessmacher saying how much she basically she said she loved the hell out of Tara and she thanked her for teaching her. That still goes with the storyline that's been set up saying teachers versus students. And when it was time for Tara and time for Tessmacher to face one another, I said in my prediction that one of them was going to turn heel. Now, I thought it might be Tessmacher because she was showing a lot more aggressiveness than she ever did with anyone. Now, you could say, hey, she's doing it because she wants to prove herself. Yeah, but it also means that you have friendship that can, basically you have two people who are very competitive. Tara and Tessmacher are highly competitive. They don't like to basically lose to anybody. And during the match, you can see them both getting pissed off at one another for the simple fact they could not pin one another. First it was Tessmacher getting pissed, and then it was Tara. But Tara did lose when she was trying to do Widow's Peak, and Tessmacher did get the roll-up on her. And at the end, when you see Tessmacher trying to shake her hand, and Tara shakes her hand, basically walks off pissed. I have still a feeling that Tessmacher may still turn heel, but that's still a bit of a long shot. If I have to be honest, it looks like Tara's going to turn heel. It's obvious. But there's still a possibility that Tessmacher may turn heel, being really a bit of a snob, because it's a good possibility she's saying to Tara, you know what, I'm no longer your student. I'm a teacher now. I'm going to teach you. She could start trying to put herself over, saying that she's better than Tara, and that's how it can really start. But you never know. It could still go the Tara way of being a heel. She's always been a great heel. Now, you have commentary. I wish to say two things. Commentary was not bad this time around. Over the last several pay-per-views, you didn't have commentary that good. With Taz, and I forgot the guy's name, but basically his partner. They never really were that great. So, this time around it wasn't that bad, honestly. I was actually quite enjoying it. They didn't overwhelm all the matches. It was mostly good commentary and a lot of jokes in it, which made it more light. I like that. And the fans kept screaming Flair. And almost forgot. During the Bully Ray James Storm, when James Storm smacked the crap out of Bully Ray in the face, they started saying bitch slap. That was priceless. I loved it. It fit perfectly. I enjoyed it. Now, the next part, we have a pre-tape of Aces and Eights, and having Austin Aries do the narration of it was very good. Of course, you're going to have him in there because he's the one that's prominently featured, but it could have been someone else. And I really enjoyed that. They didn't use Hogan's voice and use Stane's voice. They didn't put James Storm in it. They didn't put nobody. It was just only Aries. And that was the focus of that promo. Even though you could say Aces and Eight may be getting a little too much and they may go over Aries, but at this moment in time, Aries is being so prominently featured. He's being shoved not down my throat. He's being featured and showing a very, very good, how can I say this? He's giving a good feeling. And it's good they kept him as the world champion. It's good that they didn't go back to Rude or anyone else. Now, when it finally came to Aries going to the ring, calling out the arm breaker, I didn't realize that in my Impact review with the predictions. So basically, it was quite good. I enjoyed his segment that he did before Armbreaker came out. And when he said, fighting's like war, blood and sweat. You're dealing with the god of war. That was priceless. I loved that. He basically used his name the way it's supposed to be used. He is Austin Aries. Aries, the god of war, loves to fight. He kicks everybody's ass. Greek mythology, Roman mythology, makes no difference. Aries kicks ass. And when Armbreaker came to the ring, it was about 7 to 8 minutes of not a bad match. Bad fight, not a match. Not a bad fight. He could not get into the ring at first. Eventually when he did, they were going back and forth with it. It looked like Armbreaker was basically having over on Aries. Aries at one point throws some type of powder in his face, gets the advantage, and then beats the crap out of him enough that he can give him a brain buster. Very nice. Seeing him pick up a very big man and driving him straight down into the mat on his head was good. And like I said in my prediction, I thought there might be a swerve. There was a swerve. I wasn't sure what it was then. I thought maybe Robert Roode may come out because I didn't know what was going to happen with Storm and Bully Ray. It was okay that Robert Roode was not there. No problem. When Aces and Eights, the entire crew comes out, the locker room empties. The thing that's interesting, you have Hardy gets his shoulder rammed very hard into the ring post. And at the end, when Hardy gets it, about a minute later, you have Bully Ray coming out last. He did not come out middle or first, he comes out last. And he's the one that tells Hogan and everyone else Hardy's hurt. They pick up Hardy, and then they take him into the back, which was good. This was not a bad segment at all. It sets up for later tonight. Now the next part, which I'm not fully doing these all in order, but I'm going to get them as close as order as possible. You've got Storm and Roode, and this is roughly after the Bully Ray match, a little bit afterwards. And you have Roode and Storm basically trying to beat the crap out of each other. Hogan wants Roode gone, arrested by his rent-a-cops. I enjoy that. He got rent-a-cops to go in there with the cars. That looks so cool. But essentially, you have Roode and you have Storm literally trying to beat the crap out of each other, saying they hate each other. I'm going to kill you. This is perfect. I wish they'd done it months before, instead of having the matches they had where Storm loses. But essentially, having it like this makes sense. You got to have it. It makes perfect sense, and I enjoyed it. Now, the next part, you have the outside segment with the rent-a-cops with Hogan. And Hogan, and this is very well done, Hogan makes sure that his cops basically cover every exit and entrance of the arena. Tell them anyone you see, arrest them, beat the crap out of them. No, wait a minute. Beat the crap out of them, then arrest them. And he's screaming for more cops. This is not a bad segment. It sounds like it's a little over the top, but why not? You've already had so far several good matches, and not a bad street fight. Now with a cliffhanger, what happens with Jeff Hardy? You don't know what's going on. Putting this there doesn't seem like it was too over the top. And since this is maybe about halfway into the show, almost halfway in or a little more, it actually makes sense. Now, actually mentioning about Hardy, you see Hardy in the back, and they're wondering how he is, and then Magnus comes out. Oh. I enjoy that Magnus is being used in this way, because he hasn't been doing anything anyway. Ever since he broke up with Samoa Joe, they separated them. He hasn't really been prominently featured. And now having him do this was good. And I enjoyed it. But then when it came to Rob Van Dam, and I wish to say for the record right now, the reason I did not mention him in No Surrender, my predictions, my preview of No Surrender, I had a feeling that RVD was going to win this, for the simple fact that RVD has lost already more than a few times in the BFG series, and he lost his chance to reach the semifinals. I did not expect him to lose this, and I was not happy about this. Magnus put up a very good show. Don't get me wrong. The match was not bad for Magnus at all. And you know RVD, even if you don't like him, he can give off a decent match. But I expected RVD to win. And there was no even a reason to say anything at my preview. None. I don't hate RVD, but they prominently feature him so much. Who the hell cares? You got to get more blood in there. It would have been better, like I said in my preview, I wanted Samoa Joe, Magnus, the Pope, my boy the Pope, the Angelo De Niro throwing that money down, getting all his pimp on. But unfortunately he wasn't allowed to do that. And AJ Styles. Those are the four I wanted to be at the end. You got basically, well, you can't say Samoa Joe's a veteran, but you don't see him all the time in the title picture. So you got one who's been in the sorry for the finger. You got one who's always in the title picture, which is AJ Styles, in some form or fashion. And then you got three people, one who has been in the title picture a few times already, and Samoa Joe. And then you have the Pope, and you got Magnus. Two people who really needed this, but unfortunately didn't get it. But it doesn't mean the BFG series was a loss. Now the next segment you have was with Kaz and Daniels in the backstage, having their promo, which actually, look, having the matches with AJ and Angle, we've seen it, and they don't give up bad matches, but the one thing we didn't get a lot of, especially, was Kaz and Daniels talking. I mean, they talk, but it's like they weren't allowed to go off the chain. And this time, it wasn't that bad. It was not bad at all. I enjoyed it. Saying they're being screwed by everyone, just like classic heel, blaming everybody but themselves, and saying they're going to get retribution. Now, when it came to the match, Kaz and Daniels with AJ Styles and Angle, it was not a bad match. It's just like every match they've ever had. They've had now 3 or 4 matches together. The matches are good. It did feel like it was a slow start, a bit. Yeah, did I write so? Yeah, I did. I said it was a bit of a slow start. By the middle, it really got really good. It started getting into it like regular matches they've had. Usually their matches are not so slow, but it was a bit slow at first. And at the end, and I wish to say this, the one who shined the most was Kazarian. He was allowed to get the win, and I thought out of all the different matches they've had already, Kazarian's beginning to show more, or they're allowing him to let him show more. I liked it. And let's move on to the next one. You have Hogan telling the rent-a-cops to encircle the ring. I don't want nobody going in that ring, not once. Anyone that comes in there, I don't care. He didn't say you can just shoot them, but basically I don't care. Arrest them, do whatever you got to. And that was also a very nice touch to show, still mentioning Aces and Eight, but hopefully not overwhelming us with it. Admittedly, it does feel like it's a little too much, but it's understandable after what just happened earlier with Hardy hurting his shoulder. So the next part would be the backstage with Bully Ray. And it was very good. And I wish to say this right now. Bully Ray, who has, for the last year and a half, he has totally rebuilt himself from the ground up, being known as a specialist in tag teams. Now he's done so well in singles, being such a good heel. He's not one of the top 10 best heels in history, no. But in TNA, at this time around, they've had, look, Abyss was the best heel they had, the monster heel. And in this case, I'm not saying he was the same as Abyss years ago, but honestly, he is at least good now that if Abyss turns heel again, he would have a run for his money. So he talks about how he's changed himself and how well he's done, and this is his destiny. He says, do you know who I am? I am the future world champion. I like that. And then when it came to the final part of the show, for the finals for the BFG, you got Bully Ray come out. Jumps back and forth between the ropes. And I can say this, when Hardy did not answer the first and second call, and Hogan came out, I thought, are they actually going to try and do what I think they're going to do? Are they actually going to try this on Impact? And something that makes that pay-per-view good, which brings people in to pay, because you get, most of the people can see it on the internet, and you don't make that much money on cable. You make your main money from pay-per-views. And I thought, no, you wouldn't be crazy enough to actually have Jeff Hardy do it. And I'm glad he did, because Jeff Hardy did finally come out, and then they finally had their match. And this is the last segment, ladies and gentlemen. Hardy versus Bully Ray. Oh boy. This was a dramatic match. Doesn't mean it wasn't a good match. It was very dramatic. You have at the very beginning, Bully Ray, and this is what I like, even though Bully Ray is a heel, showing respect was very good. Having a fist bump from him and Hardy was a good touch. It wasn't too overbearing, it was simple. And the match was very good. It built up very well. You have Hardy getting his ass kicked, especially with his left shoulder being badly taped up. Eventually Bully Ray ripped off the tape and started hammering on him. And Hardy sold the shoulder damage well. I mean, shoulder injury well. He didn't do it perfectly, but he did do well enough that it looked legitimate. And the finishers with the Bubba Cutter, with the Twist of Fate, each one of them hitting the other one with their finishers. Honestly, it was that dramatic. It was good storytelling. You may not. Let me put it like this: the actual match I believe was the best was Bully Ray and James Storm. Not because it was more dramatic. It just showed how versatile Bully Ray is. That's the reason why I said in my predictions Bully Ray I thought was going to win. And then I realized how the match was really building up. I figured they're not going to let Bully Ray win this one. And it was okay, because Bully Ray did lose. Hardy wins. And I really believe the average fan really got a big kick out of this. And I think maybe a couple of hardcore fans may also saying, you know what, he really messed up last year when he was drugging and drinking, and he straightened himself out, and it took almost about not nearly the same time as when he messed up last year. I forgot when it was that. Honestly, it's been a while, and I have a lot on my mind, so I can't really remember when it was done, but I can honestly tell you that if they put that strap on him now, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised. I wish to say that there's a good possibility they may try and do it at Bound for Glory. Sorry for the slur. I've been up for it 11 hours now. Bound for Glory, if they give Jeff Hardy that belt, I wouldn't be surprised. Does it mean it's the right thing to do? No. I would rather him do it in 2013. In the same pay-per-view where he was last seen and he messed up seriously. I really believe that. Honestly. They should let him really get that championship on the same pay-per-view that he messed up on. I cannot remember what it was. I can't remember the pay-per-view, I'm sorry. But basically, if I remember, I'll put it in the description, even though you probably say it doesn't really matter. If I can remember, I'll put it in there. But essentially speaking, it would be better in the same pay-per-view that he really messed himself up. It would make it more sweeter. But to be honest, I think they'll do that in the BFG series. So I wish to say, I hope you like this. Oh wait, I didn't say what the rating was. Sorry. I'm tired. In my preview, I said it was a B show. I'm pretty much sticking with that. This was a solid B show. It's very good. And if it wasn't a B show, it was near B+. But I say B. I was not happy what happened with Magnus and RVD. Honestly, that's one of the things that brought this down, because Magnus did not need to job. And RVD does not always need to win every match. But unfortunately, this is how it goes. So this is a B show. I hope you like the Zane's View. Subscribe and comment. I'll be getting Raw done as soon as possible and putting it up. I really hope you like this view. You have a good night.